we're here for special projects. We appreciate, again, your attendance here. If you want a real experience, you are welcome to come up and sit with us up on the rostrum up here. And you get to look down this way rather than look up. It's entirely up to you if you'd like to do that. We've had more fun with the scouts up here and students. They tend to eat more candy than they do pay attention to things. So, but there's plenty of candy up here too. So if you'd like to come up, you are welcome to come up. You're welcome to come on up. You don't want to, okay? That's pretty safe because these people are pretty scary. I just got to tell you. So, but we do have a policeman here who will protect you. So just so you know. Great. Well, our invocation will be Councilman Jensen, and our pledge will be Councilmember Wright. So,
Our Father in heaven, we're grateful that we could meet here this evening as members of Springville City, citizens there. And we ask that Thy Spirit will be with us as we perform the duties in this meeting, that we will make the decisions that are in the best interest of the city, as citizens of the city, and for the city itself. Thankful for this country that we live in and for the freedoms that we enjoy. And these things we pray for in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
amen.
If you'll stand with me and say the pledge with me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, you've had a chance to see the agenda, and so I need approval for this evening's agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting's agenda as written.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, wonderful. We also have a chance for anybody who would like to address the council. You're welcome to do that. We have a little piece of paper up, it's out in the waiting area out in the foyer. But if you get those to Kim over here on my left, your right, and be able to get that up here to me so that we can have a chance. We have one person who'd like to take a few moments, and we'll do that in just a minute. But first of all, Chief Haight, if you'd like to come up, and we'll have a recognition of Soren Simons and his Eagle Project. So.
Mayor and Council, appreciate the opportunity to greet you here tonight, and if I could have Soren Simons come on up here. So Soren is from Troop 22, and he's working on his Eagle Scout Award and doing his Eagle Scout Service Project. And so he made an awesome presentation to the police department tonight, so I thought it'd be great if he could come and explain his project to you and what he's done for Springville City.
Absolutely.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Soren Simons. I'm a Life Scout for Troop 22 in Mapleton. I hope to have a future career in law enforcement and criminal justice. So I wanted to do an Eagle Service project with for a local police department, and part of my scout oath is to help others, to other people at all times. To me, this is like a police officer. Serving and protecting the community, and then I want the community to know that police officers are good, kind, and caring people serving the community as well. My service project is to create child care kits. These child care kits will be carried in patrol cars for police officers to kids that are in a domestic abuse and some type of bad incident situation, like these kits are for kids who are scared, or in need, or are stressed. And then inside these kits, there's one small snack, drink, a coloring book, crayons, a toy or puzzle, a stuffed animal, a blanket, and Police Chief Haight asked me to create 33, but the local community was so generous that I was able to create 65 kits.
Whoa.
More than enough for the Springville Police Department patrol cars, as well as some for the fire department. We are truly blessed by the local community, supported by the support of the police department, of the police, I should say. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to serve my community.
Wonderful. We are so
Fantastic.
impressed with that, and you need to know how grateful we are for young people like you who have really stepped up and done something remarkable. And we don't know exactly how touching that is until it actually happens. And I was in a meeting just recently in which they were talking about domestic, and that's exactly what they were talking about, was getting something to the young people to distract them and help them feel comfortable, and naming many of those things that you have in that kit. So wonderful. That's a great idea. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, well, let's give them a round of applause.
I want to thank Soren for his dedication and service, and becoming a great member of our community, and we look forward to his future career in law enforcement.
Yeah.
So we hope to have him up here at the rostrum again in a few years. So,
That'd be great.
although not on the agenda, if I could just take a few minutes to highlight, we've been building our chaplain program. If Carl Spencer could come on up here, also an Eagle Scout. So Carl has been a great friend of the police department for a number of years. He found out a few years ago that officers have a hard time finding a place to eat in the middle of the night, and so he opened his home, and it's called Brisket Night. I've been there more than a few times, and he cooks brisket for our officers and feeds them. He was looking for other ways that he could serve, and so he's helping us build a chaplain program, and he's a great resource if there's people in need, and youth included. I think it was the week of Christmas, there was a teenager, resident of Springville, who sadly took his own life. Carl responded out and spoke to his brother. And then tragically, we just learned this week that another youth in that exact same neighborhood also took his life, unrelated, but in close proximity. So Carl was thinking of what he could do, and the local congregations there are trying to focus on their youth and what they can do to help educate them. So we have a mental health grant for our public safety, and we have a contracted mental health specialist that comes in and speaks to our officers, but she's volunteered to donate her time to do some education and outreach for that small part of our community there. And that's all because of the efforts of Carl Spencer and what he's doing as our chaplain in the police department. So I wanted to highlight that and let you know what he's up to.
Very good. Carl, we love
Thank
you.
you very much.
You go the extra mile, and I know that you do this not for any thanks or appreciation, but you do it because you love the policemen and you love our community. And Jake, you're quite familiar with this man, and
I am. Yep.
yeah, and
That's
we
the tip of the iceberg for what he does to serve, for sure.
yeah. So thank you so much, Carl. We do deeply appreciate it. I met him at 2:30 in the morning one morning when the flood was going on. He was down. You remember that night. So anyway.
Not in his official capacity, and anything that may have happened as a result of that.
That's the off record.
Don't talk about where you got the equipment either.
Yeah, something was going on, yes. But thank you so much. We again appreciate you and all that you've done for our community.
Oh, like this.
Yeah, act like you like each other. Very good. Thank you, Carl. And, when you get to my age, all you do is tell stories. And I just have to tell you a story about being an Eagle Scout. I was an Eagle Scout, and I was in a town in West Virginia, Princeton, West Virginia. And I was there serving my church. And there was some very, very suspicious of these two young men in white shirts that came into that community. It was a very tight-knit community. And they just wouldn't accept us because they thought we were IRS agents or something. And I remember we were walking by the Spit and Whittle gang, if you know what that is, in the park. Guys that sit on the edge of the bench and spit and whittle on a piece of wood. And I remember an old guy coming up to me and he says, "So, what's your name?" And I told him, and he said, "What are you doing?" Explained it, had no clue what we were doing. Then he asked me something pretty important. He said, "Were you ever an Eagle Scout?" Boy, and if there was ever a time I wanted to say yes, it was then, and I said yes. And I could see in his eyes, he could identify with that. He knew what that meant and what that stood for. And after that, the town started to accept us, that we were young men, that we weren't out trying to swindle money up from them because we had been an Eagle Scout. So anyway, we're that with great distinction. So anyway, thank you. Okay, we have Michael Dial. Is that correct? All right, if you'd like to come up and spend 3 or 4 minutes with us and share what you'd like to share with us.
Thank you very much, Mayor and Council. Just an aside, my wife and I have 4 Eagle Scout sons. We have 4 sons, and they're all Eagle Scouts. One got that achievement at the age of 13. And we know what it means to have Eagle Scouts in a family. It
Very
takes
good.
time and effort.
Mm-hmm.
The wife.
Exactly. My mother.
Yeah. Mayor and Council, I appreciate this opportunity to speak with you for a few minutes. I will be brief but candid. When I was reading the campaign statements last fall that everyone who was running for city council here had made, there was a brief thing that you could read online. I was very pleased by how many times one of you, or of all the candidates, commented on the goodness and the beauty and the peace of the neighborhoods of this city. And sometimes we take it for granted, we don't think about it. But I realized that was real for where we live. We live in the subdivision, Sister Margaret and I, south of Evergreen Cemetery. The main road in and out is El Dorado, in case you know the area. But I'm concerned that our wonderful neighborhood, let me describe it first. It's that whole area is families, for the most part. And it's the kind of neighborhood where you see young men playing basketball on the side of the street. You see young girls on the new silent electric 2-wheel scooters zooming by you in the middle of Goodnight Drive, where we live. You see a friend of ours who is confined to a wheelchair, scooting around all over on the streets. He doesn't do it a lot, but that's how he gets around. That's how he gets to the chapel. So that's kind of what we have enjoyed about the place, and here's what our concern is. We're concerned that it's not going to be anymore in the future. 533 homes are being built next door to us in Mapleton. How are they going to absorb that? That's probably at least 1,000 car trips a day for that additional population. And I'll tell you what they're starting to do, or what has already been put in place in a sense. They're going to export, to a great extent, the impact of 533 new homes. And the home building started a couple of years ago. How are they going to export it? Well, they've already built roads that connect with Santa Fe Drive on the south end of the subdivision. And then another drive will be paved in the next week, I'm assuming, that connects at Goodnight Drive and 2475 South. So there's 2 main roads, and the way the plan is, in fact, I meant to talk to Kim tonight, see if she would pass out maps. I have a map of what's going to be developed, and I don't know if that's something that I could leave with her. You can take a look at. I've X'd where those 2 streets hit Springville. Anyway, moving along and a little faster. But it's worse than that. One of the streets they brought in is called Sunrise Ranch Boulevard or Drive, whatever. Comes in from Highway 89, goes south, goes west, veers off to the south, and goes right over and connects with a relatively new subdivision in Spanish Fork. So you're going to have, and already do have, because the Santa Fe Drive is already open. That was one of the 2 that was concluded. The other one will be concluded shortly. I don't know how many hundreds of homes or dozens of homes are over there in Spanish Fork, but now everyone who lives there has another option. Instead of going south and then going east or west to get out of their subdivision and go someplace, they can come north and go through Springville, our neighborhood. And that's what I wanted to bring to your attention. I think it's time to stop subsidizing growth and development in Mapleton. Let me give you an example of what I mean. I went over and talked to a couple of their salespeople and got the information I desired. They're going to easily gain hundreds of thousands of dollars of additional new income just from property tax alone. What has perhaps not occurred to them is they could take that income, that revenue, and bond or borrow against it and put all the roads in for this subdivision that they need that would not be sending all those trips, all those people in and out of our neighborhood forever. They could get them over to collector streets and they'd be on their way and stay within their own city boundaries. The consequences of that kind of new driving from two cities is going to be pollution, noise, and a mental feeling that we are less safe than we used to be because of all the traffic coming and going. It's going to be, I think, a significant impact, and maybe worse than that. I'm not trying to raise up bad things. If you remember last fall during the campaign time, people were praising and grateful for the parks and the neighborhoods of this city. So I have a suggestion. Get big chunks, or big blocks rather, of concrete and put one at Santa Fe where it meets Mapleton, put the other one at 2475 South and Goodnight Drive where they meet Mapleton, and not impose upon us in this neighborhood the consequences of this kind of development growth coming through our city from two other cities. That's not why we moved to that neighborhood. Any other questions or thoughts?
This is an opportunity for you to share your thoughts. It's really not time for us to take any action and whatnot, but we appreciate it. And if you'd leave those maps with us, and I don't know, Troy, if you have a comment or something.
I would encourage you to reach out to our Public Works Department. We do have a representative of Public Works today. Maybe you could give Brad's note. Jake back there is our Assistant Public Works Director. We've had multiple meetings with Mapleton on this issue and have shared our concerns. Mapleton has made some accommodations for future roadways that would help alleviate some of that. There is some positive aspects to having multiple accesses out of your subdivision. That's the longest closed cul-de-sac in the city, and there are public safety risks to having 200 homes on a single access that currently exists today. So it is something we're well aware of. We've had multiple meetings with Mapleton. We've shared our concerns. A lot of their phasing and development there was at our request, and even what we had blocks on that road, so I guess I'll have to go see what, if any, changes have happened or if somebody else has moved things. So
Yeah, they're not there, so.
yeah,
They're not
so we can, the best person to interact with is Public Works Director. He's just at a conference today, but Jake back there can give you some numbers to reach out so you get a better understanding of where the city's been working on this.
That's good, but there's other consequences.
Yeah, there's consequences both ways, for sure. Yeah.
I don't know what Mapleton's getting that's a negative.
What Mapleton's getting that's a negative? No, we've asked them specifically and have even offered to work with them to get another out to, is it 51 or 89? I always get those backwards. But so that their traffic can get directly out to the main route without going through your subdivision. That's our preferred solution.
They have two other ways of getting in and out besides.
Yeah, but both of those are longer than going through
I know
the
that.
Springville subdivision. And that's why we're kind of been asking them for other solutions that will not cause the primary route of traffic to go through Sunrise Ridge or the Big Hollow area.
And topography is a challenge.
Yeah.
So, Jake, raise your hand, and you're welcome to, if you want to slip out and have a conversation with him and get some phone numbers, that would be wonderful. And we appreciate you coming in. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You bet. Okay, we'll now go to the approval of the consent agenda with what you have seen on there. Are there questions on the consent agenda? Okay, then I'll entertain a motion for approval of the consent agenda.
I motion that we approve the consent agenda as written.
Second.
And this roll call vote.
Oh.
Logan?
Aye.
Jake?
Aye.
Mike?
Yes.
Craig?
Yes.
Mindy?
Yes.
Very good. Okay, Josh, you want to take us through a resolution on the planning fee schedule?
Mayor, Council, thank you. Tonight, I have a very simple item to bring to you, but I've also taken the opportunity to expound a little bit on the process behind it and the process that it's facilitating. So what I have for you tonight is consideration of just a simple addition to our fee schedule in our building permit fee schedule for our Westfield Central Design Review. The design review for the Westfield Central is specified in the development agreement between the city and the original developer of the property, and then transferred down to the builders. What that requires is that all the plans that are used to build in Westfield Central are approved as to the architectural design prior to being submitted for a building permit, and that's facilitated as a process between myself and the builder or architects. We brought on a design review architect to help us with that. I'm not an architect. I have opinions, as you're all very aware, but I'm not an architect, and I lack a lot of that knowledge, so we brought on a design review architect to help us facilitate that process. And we're really doing it because part of the concept of the Westfield Central neighborhood was to facilitate additional housing of additional types, but do it in a way that represented the best of residential design and created a cohesive neighborhood that was well designed and well put together. And as you can see out there today, the park has progressed rapidly. The playground is very popular, and I'm speaking with the landscape architect or the landscape contractor on site. They hope to be getting sod down in May. So we're going to have a beautiful park there, and I think that's really a great example of good design, and we want to make sure that the homes and other buildings that are built there are likewise well designed. In terms of the fee, all of our fees in our department and many of the other departments are set in such a way that we can update those the inputs into the fees and update the fees and keep them current pretty easily. How we do it in community development is for each application, we come to a page in our Excel workbook that looks like this, and it has the application at the left, and then each of the actions that are performed for that application, and then each of the people that touch it across the top. And we assign hours to each of those tasks, each of those actions for each person that handles each of those actions. And through the magic of Excel, it goes and sums up that total time, looks at a table of all of the wages, health insurance, and benefit multipliers to come up with an hourly multiplier, and then come back with an hourly cost. That hourly cost gets dumped into a summary table, which tells us, which calculates our overhead and gives us an overall cost, and then multiplies it by the recovery rate that the city council has given us for each particular fee. In this case, this is a new fee, so we're assuming the same recovery rate is given to most development applications where that's a full recovery. We expect the applicant or the developer to bear the cost of those applications. So in this case, we have a flat fee on each review of $900 for our design review architect, and then approximately $300 of staff time plus overhead brings us to about $1,230 for each review. We anticipate there will be 25 plans total for this project. As we multiply that out and divide it by the total number of units that we anticipate to be built, it comes out to be about $160 a unit, and that's how we plan to assess the fee, is on a per unit basis. So in a townhome, in a building of 4 townhomes, each of those townhomes would be assessed $160 fee. And in a apartment house of 8 units, each of those units would be assessed that $160 fee. Now, the question that I would have is, what does that get us? And I'll take you through one case in particular.
So even if it's the same plan, the fee would go across all of them?
So
I mean, if it's this exact same plan, you only have to review it once.
Right. So to review the plan costs us about $1,300.
Okay.
And so we're essentially amortizing the cost of that review.
So you're not charging one guy $1,300
No.
to review it.
Yes, we're not charging the first guy that comes in with a plan $1,300 and everybody gets free freight. We're charging.
And we're
all the
subbing that
units.
out to a outside architectural firm or something, like an LEI or something, or what are you doing?
No, like Civic. Tom Lowe.
But an architectural firm.
And-
Because having built a few in these other subdivisions, what we would do as builders is we would have to go to LEI. They would stamp it before we could take it to the city.
Right.
And so that was on the builder to bring us an acceptable plan. What you're saying is that they're going to bring us the plan and we're just going to charge them more money rather than go get it approved. I'm not saying one way is wrong or
bring it
right.
to
I'm
us
just
and-
trying to get a handle on what you're doing.
Correct. We handle the design review on the planning side before they apply for a building permit. And then when they apply for a building permit, our technician just checks our spreadsheet and says, is this a approved plan? They get issued a plan number when it's approved, and they just tell us what plan they're using.
It's 25 plan. I mean, it's not a huge deal. I'm just curious to see what you're doing. Because in some of these subdivisions where, you've got architectural requirements, you're right, a city can't do that. It doesn't make sense, but an architect can do it, and then they would charge for it.
There may be a point where in Lakeside where we approach that, but we're...
Yeah, I like that idea better myself. I think that's a better idea because then it takes all the onus off of the city and puts it on the developer or the contractor just to get it done.
Right.
Here, I just didn't understand it, so thanks for
Yeah,
confirming.
we're handling the design review.
Cool.
So what may be one of the first buildings to go in is on 7th South, just to the north of the park and the block immediately to the east. It's a set of 4 townhomes, and the product that we received from a design review architect and the planning department's facilitation of the process was a long explanation and discussion of the project's design and what elements might be useful in considering amending or updating that design. A number of homes shown as precedents for the recommended design changes, additional historic precedents from the local area, and then an evaluation of the elevation. So this is that first take on this 4-unit townhome, which I want to make sure that everyone understands that we are amenable to a wide variety of design, but we really want that design to be the best expression of whatever style it chooses. And we didn't feel like this was a particularly good expression of a mid-century, even a contemporary modern design. So the architect turned back to them both an updated recommendation for a floor plan that actually fit inside the setbacks and a rough concept of how the building could be re-elevated without changing the floor plans. So through this process, we went from the elevations you see here and up on the top right to an elevation, a front elevation of this design and a perspective drawing like this, which I think will be much more compatible with the neighbors across the street and more reflective of the residential character of the area.
Help us out again, Josh, where these buildings are going. Just not that I care because I have friends in that neighborhood,
let me
and
show
they're
you where
always
this one
asking me,
goes.
who's asking for permits? These are in correlation to where the park is or something. Or you can pull it right up. That'll be great.
I'll show you right where it is.
So Mayor's screen's not working. I don't know what's going on. Oh, there it goes.
No.
It's there.
So the one I'm showing you right now sits on these 4 lots. So here is Meadowbrook Elementary,
Okay.
Spring Canyon,
Yep.
the park, and
So
these,
it's right out there. Okay,
Right out here.
facing. Really? That's
so we felt this was particularly important because it sits on a corner as people come into the
Yeah.
park, and it directly faces.
well,
some
no, but
existing
it
homes
sets
across
precedence. So I just when people ask what's going to get built, that's where it's going. 'Cause-
That's going. We have permits applied for this set of 4 townhomes. Oh, sorry, this set of 4 townhomes, loft homes in this location, single-family homes here, here, and here.
Oh, cool.
So we actually have quite a number of permits, and then Lafferty is in with about half a dozen permits.
Well, the park's pretty cool. I got to say that.
Yeah, it is.
The park is amazing. Is that a swimming pool at 758? Well, I have one in there, but I don't think that
Okay.
one's mine.
So any questions for Josh in relationship to this, what he's proposing? Mindy?
That's a lot of windows.
And,
4 windows in one in the middle section before the next doorway, or how many windows was that?
right,
Windows, 3 windows.
it splits,
5
the
windows.
building splits right in between there. So that's the party wall between those 2 central units.
Okay. It looks like a business building, like a office building rather than townhomes to me, but that's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, it is of the townhome design that is more looks like a single composition than a group of 4 individual designs. And that's really kind of the first decision you make when you start designing townhomes, whether you're going to design one single composition or a set of 4 connected compositions. And they were really going for in this, we felt the best alternative to this design was kind of unifying that into more of a prairie style approach. But it does bring up the fact that design review and analysis is inherently subjective and can be difficult, but we're trying to improve the designs. And the last slide I had here was one that isn't so substantive. We really didn't change the design much, and I'm sorry the graphics aren't showing up well. But on the left, we have a single-family house. It's kind of missing a window. This window's awkward. The porch is kind of small and awkward. And this is what we ended up with, without any changes to the floor plan. Tripartite, or a 3-piece composition with having the 4th bay tucked back a little bit, a broader porch that's actually usable, and a pattern of windows that lines up between the top and bottom. And they just put some privacy film in this window because it's in a closet. So we felt in this case, it's not a substantive change to the overall style of the design, but we did improve their understanding of an interpretation of traditional forms and designs.
So one says east elevation, one says south elevation.
They also
Is this
have
just
the-
for illustrative purposes?
They also had the elevations that labeled wrong. They thought the house was turned 90 degrees to where
Okay.
it actually is.
Yeah, okay.
Those are both the front elevations.
So you provide historical examples of like, here's what we want you guys to aim for.
We do have an example of precedent images in the code. We're not in this code trying to be really dogmatic in terms of
Right.
limiting stylistic expression, but just making sure whatever style is chosen, and they have to tell us that, is well executed. And what is telling for me is they have to select an architectural style, and somebody chose Georgian. I think for this house they chose Georgian, and I was thinking, have you looked at a pattern book? So it just helps us understand kind of what they're going for, and then they're refined, especially through our architects' understanding of traditional expressions. We have provided a lot of reference materials. There's a lot of books and design manuals that really go into how to design something that's traditional in a way that actually is true to the traditional forms. And
So
that
I
helps
guess
us
just
a
my
lot.
question is that like, as we see these plans move forward and get developed, we can start pointing to developments in our own community and say, hey, we really liked the way this turned out. Maybe not so much the way that
I
turned
hope so,
out. And so
yes.
we'll get more and more refined as
But-
we move along.
Plus, on Lakeside Landing, we became much more prescriptive about saying, you showed us this picture. we're gonna write that in the code. So we got what they showed us. Where in this subdivision, we didn't do that, and lessons learned in the sense that, kind of what you're saying,
Right.
is if you want to build here, this is what it's got to look like. We've done that on Lakeside Landing, and that's what we're proposing to do out on 1600 South, is what we decide it to look like is what they'll have to build.
Yeah.
So, okay, great.
All of that for, we're gonna charge some people $160.
Yeah. So the item on the agenda is for the approval of that review fee, and
So that's in addition to any other fees? This is a new fee?
This is a new fee, correct?
Okay. And this will be charged from here on out to any developer that we have to do
So
this?
any builder that's building in Westfield Central,
Just in Westfield? Center?
right, just in that 120, 130 lots, 197 units.
Will this be something that we add then to Lakeside at some point in time?
We're looking at that. It's a slightly different process, and it is more prescriptive and a little easier to handle, that it might be easier for us to train up our planning staff in doing those reviews, and we don't have as much latitude in terms of style of pushing back like as we do because of the development agreement in this case. But it's something we're paying a lot of attention to because that could come very quickly.
Sounds good.
any other questions for Josh? Okay, I'm open for a motion, if someone wants to make it.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 2024-06, amending the comprehensive fee schedule for the city of Springville, Utah, to adjust fees for certain city services as outlined in Exhibit A.
Have a motion? Need a second?
I will second that motion.
Okay, as a roll call vote, Craig?
Yeah.
Mike?
Yes.
Mindy?
Yes.
Jake?
Yes.
Logan?
Yes.
Very good. That's it for the council. We have 2 items for a closed session in relationship to property. So I need a motion to adjourn to a closed session for property.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the council meeting and go into closed session for property.
After which time we will.
Adjourn.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's a roll call vote. Logan?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Mindy?
Yes.
Jake?
Yes.
Craig?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for coming tonight. That's wonderful.
Staying all night.
Yeah.